Hey, welcome everybody. I just want to give you a little update for your AP chemistry test on Thursday at 2 p.m. I'm sure many of you have maybe already taken either the physics tests or today's, it's Tuesday, today's AP Calc test. And from talking to Miss Yacomelli this evening and reading Twitter and following all of that, I see that there were some issues, and I know that some students at Fox Chapel had some issues with uploading their their questions, and I really feel for you. I'm so sorry that that was the case, um, and that happened. So. Um, Hopefully the chemistry test will go better for you if you do happen to be one of the students who could not upload. I know that you're going to get a retest, but that isn't much solace after having to go through all of that. So things aren't much different, once you've taken one. They're very similar. There are less students that take the AP chemistry exam. Usually there's around 250,000 versus there was over 400,000 taking the calc test. So I know I didn't hear of any uploading problems for physics. So hopefully that'll be the same with chemistry. If you are a first time tester, make sure that you do go through and do the demo that's on the College Board website that goes through just practicing your uploads. I know that in on the calc test you were asked to handwrite. With the chemistry test, you can handwrite as well if you feel more comfortable doing that, or you can type in sort of a document such as Microsoft Word or Google Doc or whatever, then upload it there as a text file. Um, and the third option is cut and paste. I don't know if that would be an option for you, but whatever you feel most comfortable with, I would be ready to go. Make sure at the top of each of your papers, whether you're typing or you're handwriting, that you put your code, your 8-digit APID, and your initials for each page. One thing that I talked to Mrs. Giacomelli about, one thing that you could think about doing, I don't know if it was just the JPEGs that weren't going through and uploading, is that from the note function on your iPhones, you can scan documents and it scans those as PDFs if you want to handwrite and upload that way. One thing that you'll have to know with you doing that, you won't be uploading a photo, you'll be uploading a text file like you would with a Microsoft Word document or a like a Google Doc or something like that. So you would pick that one, but then attach your photo, and that has been approved through the College Board. You just have to do it as a text file. The format is not PDF is not accepted through the photo upload. Okay, so here's your exam checklist. In your one folder on Schoology, I put all of that stuff on there. Some of your essentials that you need to know. This goes through your exams. Remember, you have two questions, 30 minutes and 20 minutes. The first one is 25 plus they say 5 minutes of upload, but all of that time is dedicated to doing question one. Remember, they said the upload can go on in the background. I know that's where some people had some problems. And then 20 minutes with 15 and 5 for the second problem. One key thing there that was mentioned many times I've read is that you can still earn a 5 if you don't complete the entire question. Okay, as long as what you answer correctly and answer well. So don't get too alarmed if you are having trouble finishing. Make sure you do what you can do well. Okay, focus on those parts first and then go on to the other parts. Remember, you can still earn points for a subsequent part, even if the answer that you got from a previous part is incorrect. As long as you have it set up correctly, you can get the points for that section. So don't just leave it blank, continue to work. Okay. A couple other things that I put in that essentials folder. Okay. This one right here, probably if I could, you know, say that this would be important for the test taking aspect of that is the write this, not that. Um, document that I posted on there. Yes, it's 5 pages long. It will be difficult to sort of go through there while you're taking the test, but it is something that you might want to read over beforehand and just have available to you, where it really says what you should write when you're trying to answer the specific questions and what that rationale is. I don't have time to go through all of these right now. I don't want to, upload a huge video for you, but just a couple things that you can see. Names of specific elements and compounds, the reactants and products. Don't just say it, right? Say a species, not it or stuff. Okay. Any answers without units, make sure you include the units with the problem. From what I've read and on being on the AP teacher community, I don't think that sig figs are going to be that much of a big deal for this test. I wouldn't worry about it too much. I wouldn't write all your digits. I'd probably, I would say 3 or 4 sig figs, and any of your answers would probably suffice. Okay. Let me think what else I can kind of see in here. Making sure that when you talk about Q versus K, that you talk about that instead of just, due to Le Chatelier's principle or just to reducing the stress. Another thing, and that should be down here, yes, we talked about this a lot, effective nuclear charge, okay, is really the reason why the atom gets smaller and the ionization energy increases. You can also use, the shielding effect is why ionization energy decreases and the atom gets larger. Things like that. Overcoming intermolecular forces instead of just breaking up. Coulombic attraction instead of saying opposites attract. So these are all things that you can kind of look at. Remember, when maybe talking about a trend on the periodic table, you don't want to say, well, that's the trend. You want to say why that is the trend or explain that actual trend. Okay, so I've uploaded that for you, the write this, not that. Maybe it's good to look over beforehand. Maybe you could look at it during the test, but I don't want to give you too many things to look at. I also attached a keyboard tip sheet for the chemistry exam, just how to put things in type instead of having to use special characters and things like that. They really want you to avoid those special characters. So you can see here, if you have, delta H, did you actually type out delta? Degrees Celsius, did you actually type out degrees? It is not incorrect to use the special characters, but that might take you some extra time. Okay, so you really don't need to have those. One thing that's real big down here that can save you some time is you do not have to use superscripts or subscripts. You can see here for N2O4, just writing N2O4 is fine. For an ion, especially if you have to write something like a net ionic equation or something like that, just SO4 2 minus, that's perfect for the sulfate ion. For an electron configuration, you don't have to use superscripts for those, okay? So make sure that you are aware of this keyboarding tip sheet. You can use, dash dash, greater than, less than sign for equations. You can just use an equal as well. Okay, if you want to use an equal, so if you look at H2 plus I2 in equilibrium with 2HI, you could write it as simply as H2 plus I2 equals 2HI. Okay. Making sure you use parentheses and spaces. If you have to write out something that you're doing in terms of stoichiometry, it shows you how to keyboard that out as well. Okay, so make sure you go over this. You might want to have it with you. It also tells you to use Times New Roman instead of like Calibri or Helvetica or something like that. Okay. The other thing I didn't mention is, if you're typing it, you have to type the whole thing. If you're handwriting it out, you have to handwrite it out. You cannot type some and then insert a handwritten portion or JPEG into your text, okay, into your document. You need to either write it all or type it all, okay? This was the sample questions that they gave out that you might want to look at. The one big thing here, and a lot of, on the AP teacher community, and even the moderators there, did kind of say that this first problem was too long. To have 25 minutes to do it with a 5-minute upload, there's a lot of things there. So don't be too worried about that. I know Mrs. Klein said that her sample problems given were a lot different than the actual exam questions. So this is something to practice, but don't rely like this is exactly how it is going to be. Okay, here's your periodic table, the same periodic table we use. I would use these masses if you are doing some sort of calculation. The calculation should be pretty basic because it says you shouldn't need a calculator to do this test. So we'll see. It said, or you could use a four function test or a graphing calculator. I would have a calculator ready for you because you can use it. Okay, so keep that in mind. Here's your equation sheet that I've also attached. It is open book, open notes. You can have any equations that you want, but here they are in one nice, neat place. You can even add to this if you think there's some equations that you want to add. And then lastly, this is just the total testing guide for AP. It kind of has everything in it. Here's our date right here: chemistry, Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. on Thursday, May 14th. Okay. This talks about your submissions and what type you can use. Okay. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention. I know you've probably seen this, but if you are using a photo of your work to upload as a JPEG, they will not take the HEIC, which are like the live photos. That's not an acceptable format. So you need to change it to a JPEG in your phones. And that you go through your settings and change it to the most compatible, and it will save it as a JPEG. Okay, so make sure if you are using your photo that you have it as a JPEG. For your other documents, docx, PDF, TXT, anything there. Okay. Oh, for your this was your copy and paste, and then finally for your photos, .png or JPEG will work. Okay. That's music theory, world language. That's accommodations. Now requesting a makeup, and I even think the site went down today at some point. But if you feel that you did not get the opportunity and you had technical difficulties, you can request a makeup. You have to do that within 48 hours of the exam that you take. So make sure that you do that. If you think something isn't right and you don't get that, congratulations for finishing the AP exam screen at the end. One thing a lot of people are complaining about, you do not have a way to go back and make sure, because I know we all want to make sure that what you submitted was submitted correctly. But if you get that congratulations sign, everything should be fine. Okay. And I do think within a couple days, they said, I will get your responses as well to see what you answered. So if there's something if I see something that isn't right, I will let you know. Okay. These are just steps to take before exam day. Make sure you practice, get your tech ready, make sure everything's charged, things like that. Make sure if you're typing that you have both of your documents for question 1 and question 2. I'd probably preload those already and even save them as question 1 and question 2. They said there's no real names that you have to give those documents. But I would have those ready to go, and then I'd have your sheets ready with your ID and your initials if you're going to handwrite, and probably have both of those ready to go just in case. You might look at it and say, well, this isn't going to work if I type it. I want to handwrite it. Okay. Other than that, on exam day, make sure 30 minutes before that you're checking in and getting ready for your test. And be ready to go. Remember, it'll flip over to that second question when time runs out, so you can't really move forward to that. And also, from what Mrs. Giacomelli and Mrs. Klein and also Mr. Mole were talking about, there's a lot of prompts, so you may have a different prompt than your classmates. I saw within one class at a school they had 6 different prompts for different things. So we'll see how that goes with the chemistry test. Okay, testing environment, just make sure you're somewhere you're not going to be disturbed. I know you probably already are all ready for that. And then finally, here's your answering your exam questions. Make sure you write well. Make sure you're neat. Make sure you label everything. Remember, there's still going to be people that sit down and read your answers, and they're the ones who are going to assign you your score. So you want to make it as easy for them, as concise for them to read as possible. Okay. It talks about managing your time. remember, like I said, even if you don't answer every part, you can still receive a 5 or receive a high score. Okay. And then finally, this just talks about scores and things like that. So that's about it. I just want to give you a little heads up on your testing. Please, I haven't heard much from many of you, but if you have questions, let me know. If you have anything before exam day, if anything happens during exam day, please email me. I'll be on for office hours. Probably right after. I'll post that, but right after the exam, if any of you want to talk or just vent or anything like that, um, let me know how it goes. Other than that, um, regardless of what you get, regardless of your score, I'm still proud of you. You guys have worked hard. It's been a crazy, crazy school year, one that you'll never forget. And I hope it ends on a good note here with these AP exams. And like I said, regardless of your score, I'm still proud of you, and it's been a great year. So let me know if you need anything. I will be here at my house like everybody else. All right, take care. Bye.